Hello friends, in this video we are going to discover the top 20 most miserable cities in America.
The United States is a wealthy nation, but some cities are not that great to live in. The miserable cities have several things in common: devastation, few opportunities, high addiction and crime rates, natural disasters, and often abandoned homes. We have identified 20 most miserable cities in the United States using census data from different cities while considering population change, the median household income, median commute times, the number of people who lack healthcare, and those living in poverty. In the opinion of Business Insider, natural disasters have also devastated some of these cities. Some have to deal with high rates of crime and blight, while others have high addiction rates.
Kindly make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon before we start this video about the 20 most miserable cities in America. Now let's dig deeper into each of the top 20 most miserable cities in America. Number 20. Lancaster, California. This is a desert town that has about 160,000 people. 51% of the population work, and 23% live in poverty. It has experienced crime issues with neo-Nazis and meth addiction.
However, the mayor is doing his best to kickstart the city, including looking to China for investment.
Number 19. St. Louis, Missouri.
This city has about 303,000 individuals, but it lost 5% in last decade. 75% of the residents work, and 1/4 of them live in poverty. The city has struggled with gun violence and crime. Deaths rose 33% from the previous year to 159 deaths. The city's gun laws are relatively relaxed, and this includes enabling people to carry loaded guns in vehicles without permits.
Number 18. Pasadena, Texas.
Pasadena employs about 153,000 people, and 65% of them work.
A fifth of the population lives in poverty.
The median income is $60,207, and about 29% of the people have health insurance.
Most residents are working class.
This city is based close to petrochemical plants and is famous for race problems.
Pasadena used to be the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan.
The city is now divided, with many whites living in the south and most Latinos living in the north.
Number 17. Macon County, Georgia.
This city has 153,000 individuals, but it lost 1.7% of its population in the last decade.
56% of the population work and 20% live in poverty.
One significant issue with the county is blight. About 3,700 buildings in the city are unoccupied. Many are dilapidated and have overgrown yards.
Number 16. Danville, Virginia.
The population of this city is 40,000. However, its population fell by 5.5% in the last decade. 55% of individuals work in the city, and 21% live in poverty. In the past, it was one of the wealthiest cities in the Piedmont area. However, it has struggled since its textile and tobacco mills shut down. The city is now fighting for a comeback.
It has set up solar farms, and its downtown is under rehabilitation to transform abandoned warehouses into mixed-use developments. Number 15. Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport has around 189,000 individuals, and it lost about 6% of its population in the last decade.
58% of the population work, and 26% live in poverty.
In 2015, the city struggled with flooding after the Red River swelled. The city's murder rate also doubled in recent years, with up to 42 murdered. The city also has an increase in other crimes such as robbery, rape, and aggravated assault.
Number 14. Mansfield, Ohio.
About 46,000 residents live in Mansfield, but it lost 2.7% in the last decade. 48% of the people work, and 24% live in poverty. Much of the industrial work used to occur in the city, with people making stoves, machinery, and steel. However, that dried up in the 1970s and 1980s. Much recently, in 2010, a factory owned by General Motors closed its doors, leading to more job losses. The crime rates also surged in the last decade, and violent crimes increased by 37%.
Number 13. Hemet, California.
Hemet's population is 85,000 people, and beginning from the last decade, it grew by 8.5%. However, the city has struggled since the 2008 recession. 23% of the individuals in the city are poor, and its crime rates are high. The city is reputed for having higher violent crime, gang violence, and property crime incidents than other California cities. In a recent year, 170 robberies were reported, 623 vehicles were stolen, and the police logged 398 aggravated assaults.
According to Desert Sun, the economic downturn in the city has hit the budget of homeowners.
After decades of housing construction and economic growth, the city of trailer parks and homes was hardly hit by the housing crisis and economic downturn that followed.
As a result, many homeowners could not pay their mortgages on time, which led to their foreclosure. The tax revenue that Hemet relied on funding schools and public safety plummeted.
Hemet collected over $15 million in property taxes in a last decade year, and recently in a year, it collected only $7.1 million.
As businesses closed, the sales tax revenue plummeted by 38%. However, a recent audit performed showed that sales tax revenue is rising. Number 12. San Bernardino, California. San Bernardino has 216,000 residents. 57% are employed, and 30% live in poverty. The city is situated 60 miles from Los Angeles, and its history is interesting. McDonald's and the Hells Angels motorcycle gang began in the city. This city's problems include a hard recession and the closure of an Air Force base and steel plant. This has led to fewer jobs. Number 11. Compton, California. Compton has 96,000 individuals, 40% of who are not working, and 23% of them live in poverty. The residents of the city struggle with unemployment and poverty. However, it is not as dangerous as the film Straight Outta Compton portrayed it. In 1991, 87 murders took place, and in 2014, the murders were down to 17, which is lowest in recent years. Number 10. Montabello, California. Of the 62,632 people in Montabello, 60% are employed, and 14% live in poverty. 19% of the population lack health insurance. A big problem is affordable housing. According to the New York Times, in 2019, prospects for people to buy their homes for the first time were not great, and opportunities were few. Number 9. Harlingen, Texas. This city's population is 65,000. 56% work, and 30% reside in poverty. The city is hot and does not get much rainfall. However, in recent years, it has dealt with flooding. It is among the 3 cities where 2,000 immigrants were released in 2019, which placed pressure on the town to assist them. Its rate of crime is higher than 86.7% of cities in the USA. It has many low-income areas, and the poverty rate is high. Many of its citizens have problems related to substance abuse. The city has a low cost of living, and some residents are affluent. Number 8. Cleveland, Ohio. According to Forbes, the inhabitants of Cleveland endure harsh winters, a tortured sports history, and high crime. Cleveland also has hefty taxes, dismal weather, mediocre sports teams, and corruption. Cleveland had the highest poverty rate among the large cities in the USA. The city's overall poverty rate fell from 33.1% to 30.8%. There has also been an increase in the number of seniors living in poverty. The number of individuals over 65 living in poverty grew to 22.7%. Many people have chosen to migrate out of the city. Over the last 5 years, 71,000 people migrated out of the city. Number 7. Reading, Pennsylvania. About 88,495 people live in Reading. About 62% of the population works, and 36% live in poverty. The New York Times reported that it was the poorest city in the United States. The economy struggled after factories downsized or closed down, leading to layoffs. About 44% of households live on food stamps. Reading has an unemployment rate of 12.9%, meaning that about 13 out of 100 people lack jobs. These people are likely living below the poverty line.
The median home value is $173,200, indicating a low demand for homes because few people want to live there.
The city is not ideal for raising a family.
In addition, the yearly household income is $42,176 and has high crime reports. Over the last decade, many Hispanics have moved into the city from large cities drawn by the promise of a better life and cheaper rent.
This raised the flagging population and reinforced its already acute issues with education.
Problems hit young men because they have to compete for jobs, ceasing to work and leaving women to support their kids. The economy makes it more difficult for even young individuals with a bachelor's degree.
Number 6. Hallendale Beach FL.
About 40,000 people live in Hallendale Beach, and 60% of them are working.
20% of the residents live in poverty.
Over 29% of people do not have health insurance.
The city also has numerous strip clubs and has earned the nickname Hallendale Beach. The city also lacks diversity because its population is mainly Hispanic. NBC Miami claims that 20% of its population lives in poverty. Number 5. Anderson, Indiana.
About 55,000 people live in Anderson, but it lost 2% in the last decade. 56% of the residents are employed, and 1/4 reside in poverty. Things deteriorated when General Motors, which had 24 factories, closed them, and 23,000 individuals were laid off.
The city's residents also deal with blight.
In 2015, the city received $2.8 million to tear down 100 abandoned homes, and hundreds of more homes could have qualified.
Number 4. Port Arthur, Texas.
Oil refineries surround this city, which has a population of 55,000 residents. 53% have jobs, and 30% reside in poverty. In the years 2005, 2008, and 2017, many hurricanes hit the city. The latest hurricane to hit it was Harvey, and it caused $1.3 billion in destruction, according to Wall Street Journal. Officials fear that if many people keep leaving the city, its population will fall below 50,000 individuals, which will render it ineligible for federal grants.
Number 3. Detroit, Michigan. The city's population is about 672,000. Beginning from the last decade, it lost about 6% of the population.
54% of the city's population work, but 38% are poor. The median household income in the city is $37,838.
The city lost a majority of its residents between 1950 and 1980.
This occurred because of the collapse of the manufacturing industry. Detroit has about 43,000 abandoned homes, struggles with blight, and is among the most dangerous cities.
Number 2. Putnam, Texas.
This city has experienced a streak of hurricanes that have caused millions of dollars in destruction, leading many residents to move out. Storms hit the city in 2005, 2008, and 2017, causing $1.3 billion in damage. The hurricanes flooded homes throughout the area. 30% of the people live in poverty. A study claims that if people continue leaving the city, its population will be less than 50,000, rendering it ineligible for grants. There are many refineries here. Number 1. Gary, Indiana. Gary has 75,000 residents, but it lost 6% in the last decade. About half of the population works, and 36% live in poverty. Gary was once a manufacturing mecca, but this is no longer the case. The city has many murders and drug use cases. In addition, jobs dried up, and many whites left. Now, about 84% of people who reside in the city are African American. Gary is trying to revitalize the area, which includes selling abandoned homes at very low prices. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this. Post your thoughts on miserable cities among the top 20 most miserable cities in America in the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I'm sure others would too.